Oh man, she did what? Why is the government always lying? That's not your fault. That was your mother's job. I know it sucks. It's hard, but it's fair. If we don't get our heads out of our collective asses, we're gonna be lost in the sauce. You knew he was sorry when you met him at DHS. Come on, baby girl. What's the solution? Look, I know I'm fucked up.
Good morning and welcome to the Angry Nerd Podcast. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka the Angry Nerd. As always, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my man Dylan Brackley over at Savage Hippie for the graphics. If you have any graphic needs, holler at Dylan Brackley over at Savage Hippie. Local boys right here in Arkansas doing major things. They do a really good job, and I encourage anybody who has any graphic needs to go check those guys out. Also, my intro song was produced by Platinum Wax. He's a DJ. He has a recording company. It's called Young Black Wise Guys. They're working out of Southern Arkansas. If you have any musical needs, please check out my guy, DJ Platinum Wax. All right, today's topic is also something that I hate talking about. Politics, but we can't get away from it. Politics and the COVID-19 situation. Apparently, federal prisons are set to release 1,200 inmates due to the COVID-19 pandemic that's sweeping across the nation and the world at large. Amid those 1,200 inmates that they're going to be releasing is one Michael Cohen. Some of you might remember Michael Cohen from the Trump scandal a couple years back. Anyways, Michael Cohen was incarcerated for, let's see a list of his crimes: 5 counts of tax evasion, false statements made to financial institutions, unlawful corporate contributions, sounds sketchy, and excessive campaign contributions. Wait, wasn't he on the Trump campaign? Okay, never mind, don't worry about that. But anyways, these are just a couple of the crimes that he was convicted of, 8 charges total. And it got me thinking, are we going to release all of the celebrities in recent years who have been incarcerated due to the COVID-19? Or is it just going to be Michael Cohen? So then it makes me wonder, what kind of agenda is at hand? You know what I mean? Because, and let me rephrase that. They're not going to necessarily be released. They will be released to home confinement after a mandatory 14-day quarantine to make sure that they're not infected with the COVID-19 virus. So someone like Michael Cohen, who has an unprecedented amount of money, he's going to go and basically do his sentence during the COVID-19 crisis at home, at his luxurious home. They will be electronically monitored. And it just made me question this whole situation, because are we going to release R. Kelly? Are we going to release Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein? I mean, the list goes on. We've had a number of celebrities in recent months and about the past year who have ran into legal issues. Is this going to spill over to nonviolent misdemeanors, lesser felonies? It can't only be people like Michael Cohen, who, as far as I'm concerned, is worse than any other criminal. I think that Michael Cohen is worse than any other criminal. If the average person goes and stands before the judge and he says, "I didn't know," do you know what the response will be from the prosecutor? Ignorance of the law is not a defense. Now, why is that important, Arshawn? I'll tell you why it's important. Because if a normal, everyday, average citizen can't stand before the judge and feign ignorance, it's doubly wrong for someone who is well versed in the law, like Michael Cohen, who is an attorney, to break the law. He was well informed of what the laws were, and he chose to act outside of them. I feel like a person like that should be held to a much higher standard than Joe Blow average citizen. When you have somebody who went to school for a number of years to learn the law, who turns around and breaks that law, yeah, that's who you make an example out of. You don't make an example out of Pookie, who was selling crack down in the ghetto. No, But oftentimes, these are the people that we see examples being made out of. And then we call this kind of crime that he did white collar crime. Well, excuse me, but I think that white collar crime is a more heinous crime than any other crime. Why do you say that, Arshan? I'll tell you why. Because these people already come from means. Most of the crime that you see committed by poor people, crime of necessity. I don't have enough, so I'm selling drugs, or I'm breaking in houses, or doing robberies. Whatever the case may be, I'm trying to eat. These people commit these white collar crimes, and then they get a tap on the wrist. What's worse is society has been conditioned to accept that. Oh, no. These people should be held more accountable than the average citizen. Because one, they come most of the time, they come from money. Two, they know the law, which I remember growing up, my mom would say, man, why am I getting a whooping and my brother isn't getting a whooping? And she would simply reply, Arshan, because you know better. I was older and I knew better. These people know better. And I think that the scales of justice should adopt a little bit of my mom's logic when it comes to penalizing these people. They know better. They should be penalized more severely than the average citizen. The average citizen who finds himself committing a crime, 9 times out of 10, it was their best thinking. These people, on the other hand, do it out of sheer greed and suckling at the power teat of America. Because who was he making these excessive campaign contributions for? None other than our commander-in-chief, Mr. President Donald J. Trump. That's who he was doing it for. And we can go back and forth on whether or not Trump knew about it. Not really concerned about that. What I am concerned about is the guy who went down for it. Personally, I think he may have been a patsy, a sacrifice for the greater good. Let's go ahead and get Trump on in there, and I'll look out for you on the back end. I don't know, folks. Kind of looks like we're on the back end right now. I think he's receiving some of the benefits of keeping his mouth shut and taking one for the team. It's my personal opinion about it. I'd love to see what you guys think about it in the comments. Also, I have a nagging suspicion that when things return back to normal, if they ever return to normal, when it's time for Mr. Cohen to go and finish paying his political debt to society, I got a nagging suspicion that we're going to find out the prisons are overcrowded, like they have been for years. And so they'll let him finish out the remainder of his sentence at home. I don't think some of our other inmates who are going to find themselves at home during this time will be afforded that same privilege. And I take great issue with that. So many people talk about liberty and justice and whatnot. Where is justice in this case? This is not the guy who should be released. I'm not saying that I agree with the allegations against R. Kelly. I'm not saying that I agree with the allegations against Mr. Bill Cosby. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to release non-violent people, there are a whole bunch of other people in there who should be released too. And people who I think have already put a larger dent in their debt to society than Michael Cohen. What's Michael Cohen been gone at 16 months? And you have people who have been down there 20, 25, 30 years, and they haven't been given this opportunity. So I think it's the homeboy hookup. I think in this situation, we are dealing with 100%. We're dealing with the homeboy hookup, because if we're going to be lenient and we're going to be relaxed, I think people like Michael Cohen are the last people that we should be trying to show lenience to. That's somebody I think should be serving out their entire sentence. And I think if people can remove the mud from their eyes just a tiny bit and step outside of the social conditioning that we have been given, then I think that they will see that there's some truth in what I'm saying. Because this man knew what he was doing. He spent years at law school. He spent years in Congress, and he turned around and he committed overt crimes. 5 counts of tax evasion. I'm sure there are a couple of those mafioso cats from back in the day who got locked up for tax evasion. And are they getting that opportunity? I think not. False statements to financial institutions. Let me say that in regular everyday citizen speech. He lied to the financial institutions. Do you know what happens if one of us lies to a financial institution? We will be prosecuted for fraud. They say it all nice and flowery like that, and I really hate it because that desensitizes the crime when you say made false statements to financial institutions. He committed fraud. He lied to financial institutions, and what's worse is he made unlawful corporate contributions. Sounds like bribery. With a little poetic license, let's see what he did. He ran from the man when he had to pay taxes. I think Wesley Snipes ended up going to prison for that. Correct? And let me tell you, when it comes to actors, nobody has a better image and squeaky clean reputation than Wesley Snipes. But they tracked him down in the wilds of Africa and locked his stinking behind up. And he had to do prison time and then get out and do a bunch of B movies to get his career back on track. I don't even know if that brother's even rebounded from all that. And he had to pay the money. He had to pay. You want to dance, you got to pay the band. You want to borrow, you got to pay the man. That's just the way it works out in this country. Excessive campaign contributions. I may be ignorant in this, but doesn't that sort of nullify the entire campaign? Doesn't that put a shadow on the entire campaign? A black eye on the entire campaign? And we turn around and we're signing executive orders to release this guy. Oh, it's home confinement, Arshawn. Yeah, well, you know, if you live in Little Rock, maybe it's not, a luxurious resort. But when you have money like Michael Cohen has, you're going home to live high off the hog. You are 100% going to Club Med. That's what's happening. And I don't understand how people don't see that this is wrong. This man has done nothing with his position but lie, cheat, and steal. And this is the person that we want to let back into society. I got a nag after 16 months. I'm telling you, I got a nagging suspicion that he has not changed his ways. The only thing that he has possibly done is found new ways to get over on the American people. And I'm sure somebody like Michael Cohen will weasel his way back into Washington. Oh, you better believe it. He will weasel his way back in Washington. He still has connections. And one thing that I know about those folks in the upper echelons of society is that they look out for their own. And he kept his mouth shut and he took a lick for the team. He's a made man. He's a made man. They're not letting any of the mafiosos out because they're dangerous. And so is Michael Cohen. He's a very dangerous person. He has much more influential friends than any of those guys in the mafia or the mob, whatever you want to call it. He has way more influential friends. He stands to commit these same crimes again. That's what we look at. 8 counts, 8 charges against this man, convicted of 8 charges. That's not everything that he was charged with. These are just the things that he was convicted upon. That a normal citizen who finds himself standing before the judge with that many charges and that many convictions is known as a habitual offender. And they will not let this person back into society. Oh no, not for Joe Blow average citizen. And it shouldn't be any different for this man. I'll tell you what the difference is. The difference is my ace Boone Coon is up there in the White House. My buddies are all down there in Congress. They are manipulating the law. They are using this tragedy that has been bestowed upon the American people to circumvent the law for their friend. That's what's happening right now. I personally feel like the entire judicial system at this point, after this, is a scam. It's a farce. It's nothing real. You should go down there, and there's a whole bunch of people who are nonviolent offenders if you're going to let this man out. There's a whole bunch of people who had no idea of the ramifications of their actions based on the crimes that they were committing. And if you're going to let this man out, who 100% knew what the ramifications of his crimes were going to be. Because people like this, they spend their entire career waiting on the other foot to drop. Because he knows beyond the shadow of a doubt he's committing a crime. He knows what type of time that this charge carries. He knew all of that. How did he know, Arshawn? Because he went to school and he learned these laws. He's probably been operating like this for a number of years. He only got caught because of the heavy scrutiny under the Trump campaign, and he was the sacrificial lamb. I don't find it noble at all. Under normal circumstances, I would say that's noble to not tell on your friends. But not in this case. Not when your friends are fellow lawmakers. Not when your friends are people who are responsible for making decisions for the people in this country. I don't think so. I don't think it's noble at all. I think that Michael Cohen should have told on everybody. I think Michael Cohen should have told on everybody, and I think some of the negative things that we have experienced under this administration, we would have foregone. But he kept his mouth shut. He kept his mouth shut. And that also makes me feel like this guy shouldn't be out. I'm afraid. I'm not afraid of Crips and Bloods. I'm afraid of Michael Cohen, because this guy has influence with people who can change the laws, who can write new policies, who can really bring down hurt, harm, and danger on the American people. That's who his friends are. And for people to not be in an uproar about this is unfathomable. It is unfathomable right to the letter, because this guy is a threat, a menace, a danger to society. I'm using these words and this language because that is the language used by the institution when they deny parole to a regular, everyday citizen turned criminal. These are the terms that they should be using for Michael Cohen, an officer of the court. How many proceedings has Michael Cohen been involved in? Seen people go to prison, seen people face jail time, seen people lose their homes and vehicles because they were seized by the government. How many asset forfeitures has he signed? He knew all too well the implications of his action. And this man acted in concert with other people. I think there are other people who have not been revealed. And that is directly related to Michael Cohen keeping his mouth shut. This man is a danger to society. He's a detriment to the American people. And I don't think that this is the end of it. I think that this man will be back with a vengeance, only this time he will be acting in the shadows. I've heard him referred to as Trump's fixer. I always think of Olivia Pope in Scandal when I hear the term fixer. And if he's done any of that kind of stuff right there, I'm sure there are plenty of other things that he didn't get convicted of that he should be in prison for. So I really want to hear what people think. I want to hear thoughts, comments, ideas. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. I think people need to know. I think people need to have an opinion about it. If nothing else, let's get the conversation going. Let's get the mind juices churning. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka The Angry Nerd. Thank you for listening.